Hello there.
Look, there's already people.
Hello Vietnam, or well,
Hello, Vietnam. How does
hello,
it say?
hello
Vietnam.
America,
How
hello
about
world.
we sing lollipop, lollipop, oh lollipop?
I think you could
Could
get
do
away with
better.
that.
I could almost get away with it, but not tonight. I am so tired. However, we have important stuff to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. And somebody let us know if you can't hear us. Let's see. DJ, you were number 1. Robbie was number 2. John Jen number 3. KK in the house. Beautiful people, we love you. And Elena, Tartarian Vagabond. Yes, we will be looking into those Rosicrucians in a future video. There's Jen, our own Xenomorphat, Carolina Dream, Vildan, and Christine Love.
Oh, good. Thank you, Christine Love. Yeah, loud and clear. That's good to know. It's been a really busy day, and it just seems like things are just about to snap. It feels like there's a piece of straw on that poor camel's back that just is not going to make it. Hi, Annie Luhu and Phil Farmanito 11. Yo. Joni Murphy. Hi. I hope you are well. Regina. Good to see you here.
Joni, it feels like we haven't seen you for a while.
It seems like forever.
Yeah, great to see you guys. Regina, we have a lot of Texas in the house. Just saying, a lot of Texas. Oneness. I'm sure we're going to have quite a bit of San Fran and the West Coast in the house too. Wow, guys, it feels like the world is holding its breath, literally, at this point in time. There's some ominous things, maybe nothing more ominous than this. What are we looking at? Well, we're looking at everybody avoiding flying an airplane right through Iran. There's like nothing that's up over Iran right now. Nothing over their airspace. So, if you want to find, a hint that something could be up, there's a lot of hints. There's a lot of hints. I do want to thank all the lovely people that are Patreons. Again, it's just such an honor to be able to do this with you guys. And we are going into our 9th year. Holy cow, that's commitment. And we are committed for the whole way. I don't think we'll ever stop doing this.
No, I think to some degree we're going to be here, and I especially like it. And there's our ER Karma Doc, awesome Karma Doc in the house. So, show the planes flying. Oh, yeah, right? I know. It's been really horrible out there, and we've seen some really interesting things in the sky tonight, some very different things in the sky. I just want to, go ahead.
And I just wanted to say, too, and by the way, our own beloved Karma Doc, she is former military, so.
She knows things.
Yeah, she knows things.
She's pretty amazing. Okay, so intention tonight. It's really tough over there on a lot of people over that are going through things. They don't have internet. They probably don't have food, water. They're probably very frightened, and they're probably very innocent people like us. Moms, dads, children, grandparents, very kind people. So let's put the intention out there in the very beginning here to just be sending them some love and comfort and guidance, and check in with our guides and angels to have some of our guides and angels work with their guides and angels to help people who need it. So I want to put that first, and then we're also going to do a meditation and prayers at the end for other people and for the whole situation.
Yes, absolutely. Dio the Enigma. How is the experiment to discover the Earth with the aether ice walls? Ooh, gosh, we got some stuff on that type of thing coming up a little bit later once we get through all the news updates. Yes, I do think we may be in for a bumpy weekend. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And the big thing, too, is, where first? Is it going to be Iran, or is it going to be conflict over Denmark? Or is there something else out there? Are we going to have something else happen with Venezuela, or maybe Colombia, or maybe Mexico? Or maybe China will just say it's enough and we're just taking Taiwan back. Maybe Russia will decide to go. It's just crazy and chaotic. And the bottom line is the average people in all these countries, they don't want it. It's just the insanity of the leadership system.
So I just want to say, as far as our local folks, there's storms going on around there too. So you guys, please send our locals, those who are facing storms right now, send them some positive vibes too, that darn energy, the electricity won't go out. And you let me know if it does. We'll be on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Diana's in the house as well. So it's so interesting how we have clusters of people in these areas. I mean, I wish we could see a map of when we have our full house here. You would see clusters. Yeah. It literally is groups.
People are grouped. Like, they're like little energy transmitters or transformers, and they're all kind of clustered in one little, 5 here, 4 there, 3 here, 10 there, there's 20 over there. We have people in little groups and areas, which is interesting. Not so close that you could meet on a weekend, but, within 100 miles of each other, and that's pretty cool.
Before we start off, I want to give you this. I've made at least 4 or 5 videos talking about George Washington's prophecy. And, I am blessed to be with the woman next to me 24/7, 365. We are never apart. Maybe a week, maybe an hour a week, with like an errand or something. And then she rolls out these things all the time. Like we were talking about different prophecies, and I said, well, Washington's vision. And she's like, let me know that she's been getting stuff about Washington, about the founding fathers. There's been a lot coming through from the guides, from the galactics. And this Washington's vision, she feels, is authentic. And it was given to George Washington from Pleiadians, basically. And so this talks about three threats. If you don't know, Washington's vision goes back to the great battles there over at Valley Forge. It was kind of like a low time for the Continental Army. The morale was real low. Literally, soldiers were walking around in the snow in basically rags and pretty much bare feet. And, just tough times. It was a brutal winter, icy cold, and he had a vision that the country would last, but that it would go through 3 different major trials. Obviously, the Civil War was a major trial. The initial, getting its separation from Great Britain was one as well. So, you could see here the first threat, then the second threat. But the one that I want to talk about is the third threat. So there's an angel that gives him a vision. And this is the thing. How many angels are just simply Pleiadians? Seriously. How many angels, maybe they're Pleiadians, maybe they're Arcturians. Again, maybe they're from the Sirius star system. The third threat, and again, I heard a mysterious voice saying, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." At this, the dark, shadowy angel placed a trumpet to its mouth and blew 3 distinct blasts. And taking water from the ocean, he sprinkled it upon Europe, Asia, and Africa. Then my eyes beheld a fearful scene. From each of these countries arose the thick, black clouds that were soon joined into one. And throughout this mass there gleamed a dark red light, by which I saw hordes of armed men, who, moving with the cloud, marched by land and sailed by sea to America, which country was enveloped in the volume of a cloud. Well, we have a lot of clouds, they're sprayed all the time. And I dimly saw these vast armies devastate the whole country and burn the villages, towns, and cities that I beheld springing up in his earlier vision. In his earlier vision, again, we're talking the 13 original colonies at this time. So, the whole country, he saw the country expand from coast to coast. And, He saw, again, things like trains and iron birds and all this, and all these big, great cities, that we now know today. And so what he saw was these towns and cities that I beheld springing up as my ears listened to the thundering of the cannon, clashing of swords, and the shouts and cries of millions in mortal combat. I heard again a mysterious voice saying, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." When the voice had ceased, the dark, shadowy angel placed his trumpet once more to his mouth and blew a long and fearful blast. Instantly, a light as if 1,000 suns shone down from above me and pierced and broke the fragments of the dark cloud which had enveloped America. At the same moment, the angel upon whose head still shone the word Union, and who bore our national flag in one hand and a sword in the other, descended from the heavens, attended by legions of white spirits. These immediately joined the inhabitants of America. Did you catch that? Let me say that again. Instantly, a light as of 1,000 suns shone down from above me and pierced and broke into fragments the dark cloud which represents the invading forces. Where those invading forces come from? Well, he named it. Again, coming from Asia, Europe, and Africa. So these legions of white spirits immediately joined the inhabitants of America, who I perceived were almost well nigh overcome, but who were immediately taking courage again, closed up their broken ranks, and renewed the battle. Again, amid the fearful noise of the conflict, I heard the mysterious voice say, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." As the voice ceased, the shadowy angel for the last time dipped water from the ocean, sprinkled it upon America. Instantly, the dark cloud rolled back, together with the armies it had brought, leaving the inhabitants of the land victorious. So the invaders are repelled. Then once more I beheld the villages, towns, and cities springing up where I had seen them before, while the bright angel, planting the azure standard he had brought in the midst of them, cried with a loud voice, "While the stars remain in the heavens, send down dew upon the earth, so shall the Union last." And taking from his brow the crown which blazed the word Union, he placed it upon the standard, while people kneeling down said, "Amen." So, this is an interpretation. The scene instantly began to fade and dissolve, and I last saw nothing but the rising, curling vapor I first beheld. This also disappearing, I found myself once more gazing upon the mysterious visitor, who, in the same voice I heard before say, "Son of the Republic, what you have seen is thus interpreted. 3 great perils will come upon the Republic. The most fearful is the third." That may be the one that literally may be starting as we talk. Just maybe days, weeks, months perhaps, or perhaps still years away, if it is to be fulfilled. The most fearful is the third. The comment on his word third is, the help against the third peril comes in the shape of divine assistance. Apparently, the second advent, passing when the whole world united shall not prevail against her. Let every child of the Republic learn to live for their God, his land, and union. With these words, the vision vanished, and I started from my seat and felt I had seen a vision wherein had been shown to me the birth, progress, and the destiny of the United States. Such, my friends, concluded the venerable narrator, were the words I heard from Washington's own lips, and America will do well to profit by them. So, before we go further in, I just thought that it would be interesting to share that with you guys.
What I keep picking up is this is when he had those visions, he was giving that information telepathically through some type of different type of energy that we don't understand. And I think people are getting a lot of information. The voice of God really, really concerns me. So that's something where if you get information in your mind and it's very sterile, it's going to feel very plain. It's not going to come with any emotion. I really believe he was talking to a Pleiadian-like force. And when it comes to now, what we're looking at now is very much a reflection of us, a reflection of our inner worlds changing on the outside, and sometimes that looks very, very frightening and very, very difficult. But look around the world. I mean, people are going through these inner battles left and right, and it's really wild. And it is as within, so without. So I do think that our energy makes a difference. And once again, coming together like we do and sending those positive vibes out there, I think it truly helps more than we can even remotely see. And I think that's a very important thing to look at, as far as many channels like this, kind of being squished down to a high degree, when we're saying, don't take sides, send the positive energy out, do what you can for you, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, look at things in a way that, like, what if this is our last live we get to do together? Oh my gosh, you want to say all the things. You want to spread that positive energy if this is the last time we're going to do a live. And not to point it out in a morbid way, but wouldn't life be just a little more romantic if you looked at things saying, this might be the last time I go to bed in my bed. This could be the last time I get to sit down and watch this movie. Might be the last time I get to make a dinner. Wouldn't you just make it a little bit better? So I think we can pour more life into the life that we're living now, and our external energy can make the world around us richer. And I'm not even sure where I'm going with all of this. I'm just, I think we're going to be facing a thing, and the world's going to change around us. So finding that appreciation in everything we do is a good practice.
Absolutely. So if you look, well, is this really real? Well, the historical narrative is that it was a work of fiction published in 1861. They say its author was really Charles Wesley Alexander, who published numerous allegorical stories featuring famous American figures. But some people take that it's not a work of fiction and that it is really a true account. It's interesting to note that this is actually in the Library of Congress. It is, a public domain story, so, it's free for everybody to look at. And at the same time, it does have a very valid ring, because in some ways it is something that is echoed by a lot of other people that have seen these times amount to ultimately the U.S. itself being attacked and invaded. And when you see everybody, that has had these visions, it's really a union of China, along with Russia and some other countries from Asia and Africa that do the invasion. So we'll have to see. Again, timelines, I do think prophecies are out there so that we take note and we change timelines by trying to do our very best to bring about peace and having compassion for the average people, like the poor people in Iran right now that are just bracing. They don't know what's going to hit them, and they're already in such chaos. There are some sources saying that the death toll is in the thousands. I've heard anything from 500 to 2,000 to 4,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Looking at this, I mean, I think everything is very, 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 very frightening. And Karma Doc asked, did Washington write that? There's no evidence that he actually wrote that, but I do believe he saw a lot of things. And I think that this is something, and on some level, I do think he had interaction with these beings. So very, very good question.
Okay, so, this is from RT. President Donald Trump has repeatedly threatened to launch military strikes against Iran with the ongoing mass protests. Now, the last word we got from him today, he was being interviewed, he was doing a signing, and somebody asked him about Iran, and he said, well, we heard that they stopped killing the protesters, because he was talking about bloodbath with the killings of the people that were protesting. That was the last word he gave. Does that mean that the attack is off? I don't think so. Honestly, it could be paused, but I think just as likely he's trying to put out there the opposite of what probably is happening. If there is some sort of strike, then let's hope that it's very surgical and doesn't hurt just average people. But in war, just regular old average people minding their own business always get killed. It's just what happens. I'm sure the regime is just like every other regime around the globe. They're all basically corrupted, and power definitely can corrupt. This is why we need real changes and real new thoughts in regards to whatever type of system humanity wants to put in place. I think we've learned what not to do.
That's important. That's important in life. You go through some really, really difficult times, and you have some difficult things come back on you. And, as long as you can gather from it what you don't want, then you've truly learned something. And I think as a collective, we need to still definitely do that. I'm very nervous, the way Trump is walking around. He's making us out to be like these big badasses. And what's going to happen? What's going to happen when somebody walks around and touts how strong they are, how powerful they are, and how they have the best weaponry? Somebody is going to want to push that person over. Someone is going to want to, take care of that kid on the playground or put him in his place. And that's what I'm still worried about. That's the thing that keeps going through my head. Why all the chaos? I don't know, but I know that we're going to have to adjust to it. We're going to have to make change and deal with things.
So I'll mention Henry Groover because his vision saw some details that were very similar to Alois Ermeiler. He had a vision in 1986 of the invasion of the U.S. And its destruction at the hands of the Russians and the Chinese. So the difference here is that in his vision, unlike Washington's, where the U.S. pushes back and eventually wins, this was a much worse outcome for the U.S. He saw Russia moving by sea and air from the north to destroy America by nerve gas and nuclear weapons. Again, we get that nuclear weapons will not be allowed to be used from the Galactics. Yet at the same time, they do have rods from God. They do have those hypersonic missiles. There's a lot of energy weapons. There's a lot of other things that could be used that would be very, very impactful. The Russians will steal materials and will spoil the U.S. after the destruction, and he sees the death toll being over 120 million people. But he looked particularly to Astoria, Washington. He saw a Chinese invasion force by sea invading the land. When the Chinese landed in America, any civilians they saw were shot and killed. The U.S. responded. He saw with World War II vintage planes against the Chinese force. This represented the weakness of America and its national defenses. So his outcome was not good. He saw them taking over, and there's been others too that have made mention of plans that China has to repopulate the U.S. and Canada and probably Australia too with its own citizens. Again, let's put out our intentions that this will not manifest. Again, the prophecies, the way I look at it is that, this is more of a if we do nothing type of thing. When you see Alois Ermeiler, he saw the same area here too, being invaded by China. And he said that would happen when Russia really goes and starts to roll across Europe, meaning that like what we have with Ukraine is a intentional, delayed, stalled advance, because they could actually move much quicker, but they're waiting for the right time. So yeah, attack on Iran appears to be imminent. There's a lot of signs. This one is saying, please take shelter and be cautious. Bombs will start flying at any moment. The U.S. is pulling troops out of different bases. That has been verified. They are pulling troops away from different bases. There's a lot of different activity going on. Personnel at key U.S. base in Qatar advised to evacuate. So I think what he was doing was trying to give them the impression that, we're not going to maybe, or give them the hope that maybe we aren't going to strike, but he was just probably doing that to get people evacuated. And then Iran sent a message that says that the world can't ignore. And this is what they're talking about. What it says is basically it's showing when President Trump was hit in the ear by the bullet, saying the next time they won't miss. This time it won't miss. Now that's curious because, this is what the Polish psychic has seen. And Joni, Joni, that Trump will not finish the year out, that something will happen. So, again, we just put our intentions out there for peace and compassion and love, and they're going to do what they're going to do, but I do feel we can definitely mitigate the outcomes.
Joni's had some pretty good hits, and a Polish psychic too, and they're both saying that there could be a problem going on with Trump, or something could come up, and Joni, astrologically speaking, said that it looks like, he could be in danger again. So we're watching that as well. If you had to wrap this up in one nice little neat snowball and say, well, what is this going on here? Well, I think everything's about to hit the fan. That's what's going on.
Right. And Ray says, that's what happened to the Native Americans. Exactly what happened to them. Exactly. And think about that. They understand how karma works, the law of cause and effect. So, here we have this system ultimately using the European settlers to come in. And, what happened to Native Americans was atrocious. And then if that happened, and, again, it was resettled by mostly people from China, it would be kind of like a karmic turnabout. Yet, again, this is generations apart, and it's not the same individuals, so at the same time, there is kind of like a karma of nations. Wouldn't you agree, Son?
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Yeah, and then when we look at the history of the U.S., it's been at war almost its whole existence.
Mm-hmm. I think we went through this once, and there might have been 4 years where we were not at war, so pointing out, every time I hear that saying out of the Bible, there will be wars and rumors of wars. Well, there always is. That never stops. There's always those things going on. And why is that? It's because humans, if they're only given threats and they have no direction or understanding of what's going on, and they don't know how to detach, and they're not ready and they're not prepared, well, they can be in fear, and they can easily be led. They can be kind of led around and told what to do and what to think, and how to do it and how to think it, and it's a problem.
Yeah, so when you look at it, it's just been nonstop. It really has been nonstop. There's just a few years where there was no wars. And again, not everything was called a war. There were different policing actions, etc., etc., etc. But in reality, the same end result. So, karmically, yeah, I think we've been put in a karmic hole by the system. And I think that's what the system's intent is, too, because they understand how this type of thing works. So you have, again, you have evacuations. You have a direct threat, again, at Trump. It was interesting, the Polish psychic picked up that there would be elections in the U.S. this year. And when he was talking about the elections, he said that the elections would really upset people and people would be very unhappy. But he also was talking about who was going to replace President Trump. Now, unless something happened to Vance is going to be the president if anything happens to Trump. So, I don't know what would make it unless Vance was taken out too. And then again, we go into the line of secession, which, I could pull it up, and let me just mention this before I pull it up. Netanyahu's plane leaves Israeli airspace mysteriously. Israel reported the plane of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, known as the Wing of Zion, left Israeli airspace as part of a planned routine training exercise, denying unconfirmed reports that suggested otherwise. So where did it go? Is Netanyahu out of Israel? If so, where did he go? Did he come to the U.S.? Is he some tropical island somewhere? Why would he be leaving? Unless he was fearful of reprisal. And, again, the Polish psychic said that 2 bigger countries would end up striking Israel after the Israeli and U.S. strike on Iran, and that it would almost annihilate Israel after the reprisal. And those countries, to me, would be Pakistan and Turkey would be my best guess.
Oh, John and Jen say the doomsday plane is at LAX. Yeah, I haven't looked at that, but that's very interesting. We did see we've seen some really strange aircraft just above our house today, really strange a few times, and then a really weird looking, huge white, just like super white plane flying above us. I don't know if it's one of those, but it was unusually white.
Yeah, you see this going over, just get to safety and shelter as you see a stealth with fighter escorts. The sides are being drawn. It's getting kind of clearer. Saudi Arabia has formally informed Washington it will not permit the United States military aircraft to use Saudi airspace for any airstrikes against Iran. Now, the U.S. and the Saudis have always cooperated, at least in modern times, so this could be a little bit of a surprise. And then we have everything going on with Denmark and Greenland. Denmark sends military reinforcements to Greenland. An advanced contingent of the Danish armed forces has arrived in Greenland. According to the report, Denmark is deploying military equipment and advanced troops to the island to prepare for the possible arrival of larger forces from the Danish army and other branches of the armed forces. Some reports are literally saying perhaps the UK and France may be also sending troops there. Can you imagine that? This is just like upside down times. So, Danish defense minister said the Danish government's committed to establishing a more permanent and larger military presence for Denmark and its NATO allies in and around Greenland. He described the move as a clear response to the challenges facing the Arctic. So is it that they're saying we're beefing up our military presence, Donald Trump, so you don't have to take over Greenland? Is that it? Or are they fortifying themselves to defy the U.S. if the U.S. goes to take it over?
I don't know, but I heard they had 2 really awesome dogs in a sled guarding it. So, I don't know.
Everything is good then.
Everything's fine, and those are really good dogs, I'm sure.
Meanwhile, Keir Starmer announces 27 local elections are canceled. This means a record 4 million British citizens will not be able to vote this May when they should have. Yeah, isn't that so? It reminds me of Zelensky in Ukraine, doesn't it? Yeah, again, so many protests and so obvious that Keir Starmer, again, just another weefer. But that whole weefer movement, just to cite again the Polish psychic, he was viewing 2028 in the summer, and he says that whole movement is just ashes. There's nothing left of it. So, the whole, everything that we've been hearing, again, about the global warming movement, and then again, digital ID. By the way, they didn't get their digital ID. That whole movement's going to be toast, and it already is starting to manifest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think things are just in such a state of chaos. The more we can stabilize ourselves, in our own bodies, I feel the better things are going to go outside of our bodies. And I think that's probably the extent of which we can control. We can control our energy, we can control our response. So we should just, hold tight to that, know that we have some say in where we put our effort and our energy.
We certainly do. And, I can't wait to do that Say Hey Hey Bye Bye song for Keir Starmer, because, he's just always been kind of a putz in my mind. By the way, you could buy Roundup in all 50 states, but raw milk is illegal in 39 of them. Why do you think that is? Could it be because it could actually boost your immune system?
Well, it does so many things, and the biggest concern is it might take money away from some people who prefer it be in their pockets. So they got to keep the laws as is and keep those hardened criminals, out of reach, and or just kind of make sure things stay the way they want them, so they keep making money. Because who wants healthy people running around? That's dangerous.
Yeah, and reports that Mrs. Netanyahu is in Miami. I believe that their college-age son is going to school around somewhere in Miami or South Florida. So it could be that while Israel is getting primed for an attack on Iran, they're going to just go and get some sunshine in Miami and a little beach time.
Yeah. Well, then I guess that would make Miami safe?
Well, perhaps. But, I mean, this is the reality of it, because, his son wouldn't be drafted, but they're going to draft everybody else's. The time of that system is just about over. We have to, again, call it for what it is. The most important Maha announcement of 2026 quietly dropped today. Medical freedom laws are coming to at least 10 states this year. In 2025, Idaho passed Maha's biggest win yet. Almost nobody noticed. The Idaho Medical Freedom Act outlawed all medical mandates, including ouchies. Today, a coalition of 14 Maha organizations announced they're taking that groundbreaking law to at least 10 more states in 2026. That's a good thing. Actually, this is really the thing that perks me up and makes me feel real hopeful, is everything that's coming out about the health situation. There's a lot of positive there.
There's a lot of waking up and a lot of change that's needing to be made. A lot of people who are, getting pointed out because they're protecting other people. And now we just know, and I don't know about you guys. I swear I'm having a Mandela moment. Like when they came out with that food pyramid upside down, I swear that came out was headline news like 2 years ago, maybe more, that it was upside down. Just the exact news we heard the other day. And I mean, maybe it was mentioned, but I just thought that it was all said and done. So I'm feeling like this Mandela thing. I don't know.
Okay, so, listen to this, because maybe you haven't heard this. Millions of people may be getting misdiagnosed and deliberately with high blood pressure. The American Heart Association just changed normal blood pressure to 110/70. Every time they lower the numbers, millions of people need medication. Well, yeah, because millions of people, the vast majority of people just go and just do what they're told. They don't question things, question authority, question everything. In 1970, normal blood pressure was 160/95. Wait a minute. 160/95? In 1985, they dropped it to 140/90. And now 120/80 was the norm, but now that's actually elevated. This isn't medicine. It's marketing. Yes, it's marketing. So stage 1 hypertension now is 130/80. Call these people for what they are. These are salespeople. These are marketing people. How much do they really care about your health?
Well, I guess to the extent of their bank account.
And the same thing goes again with cholesterol and, all that. We had that food pyramid Cindy was talking about. Healthy fats are so important. In fact, there are definitely lots of things that point to the fact that if you were getting even a majority of your calories from fat, you'd be way better off than getting the majority of your calories from processed foods with, simple carbohydrates. That's what devastates the body, and it causes a lot of inflammation.
Yeah, you need those animal fats. Very, very important. You just want to get them, get everything you do take in. And it's best if it's organic. If it's not organic, you might have some trouble if you're very, very sensitive. But yeah, those animal fats, especially if you're needing to move hormones around, if there's, hormone problems, get those animal fats, and because that's what makes the hormones, and it's also what moves the hormones, and our bodies need hormones. So you take away the animal fats and the really good fats, there's going to be a problem.
Severe Crohn's colitis reversed with just coconut oil in 12 weeks. A 32-year-old with Crohn's-induced colitis was scheduled for surgery. 32. Instead, she applied 100 milliliters of coconut oil daily. Week 1, gut pain started improving. Week 6, intestinal bleeding stopped completely. Week 12, total remission achieved. Surgery canceled. There goes, 100,000 for the medical industry. But, again, this is the type of thing that can be done. And here you can see, literally, the changes inside. Coconut oil, love it. We have tons of it. We always do. I was just totally amazed that we actually ran out, because I usually have like 10 pounds of coconut oil. So, what I've been doing now is stocking up a little bit more, because I do think that we are in for probably a little bit of a bumpy road. So I do think it's a good idea to have as much of the basics that you're going to need covered. We have had higher amounts of stocks when it comes to food in the past, but we don't eat as much now. We really, really don't, and we feel great overall. And we're doing well with just the one meal a day and a protein shake earlier.
Okay, so we have something super, super, super happy that I want to see. Ginger says, can I just say I'm on such a high right now. My bestie just had her gender ultrasound at 20 weeks. Perfectly healthy, beautiful baby. They've been trying for 15 years. And also, she says, Mike and Cindy, you did a session with her, and Cindy, you told her she'd have a baby. Continued prayers, please. Gender reveal party. Well, now that is going to be an EEARTS baby. I hope they all know. And we better get pictures, Ginger. Please do send us pictures. That is wonderful news. So let's put that out in our prayers, that this baby is perfectly healthy, and it'll be a beautiful starseed added to our EEARTS family. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you so much, Ginger Elbrett. Another beautiful, wonderful person that we have had the just great pleasure of knowing for so many years. Melinda's in the house as well. Man, there's so many just amazing people out there. You know how awesome you guys are. You're just awesome. It'd be wonderful to be able to have a get-together somewhere at some point in time. That would be so cool, after the system is totally changed and things are going well. But, think about this. What are we looking at here? Oh, I recognize that. So this is Egypt over here, and the Red Sea and Saudi Arabia. But why are there so many lakes? Where is all this water coming from? Look at the rivers. Look at the towns. There's nothing but kind of dust and sand there now. This map is again, this is one of those amazing things that really gets you to question our history. 15th century map of Africa by German cartographer Leonhard Holl, drawing on the work of Claudius Ptolemy. Shown are extensive lakes and river systems across what is today the Sahara Desert. So, yeah, if we're talking about Claudius Ptolemy, this is a recreation of times farther back. Let's see when Ptolemy lived. Yeah, but the point is that how much has the world changed? So he lived around 100 to 170 AD, right? So when you think about it, gosh, we have these visions of, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, and everything happening. What if it wasn't like all desert even over where they were? Maybe it was, much more lush and beautiful back at the actual time of the historical Yeshua. But, again, there's so much confusion because if we look to, again, that great Russian researcher that says that they stuck in anywhere from 700 to 1,000 years that didn't really happen, then that would bring all this much, much closer to us in actuality. And what really did wipe away all this water? I mean, what type of events? What type of, was it directed energy weapons? What could do that?
I don't know. Just a whole bunch of things keep getting, oh, thank you so much, Frankie. Big blue pup. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. That is very kind.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the stuff that just fascinates me. Absolutely fascinates me, and how big and thick was the Nile, and all these all these towns and cities that there's nothing there. But what if we went digging under that sand? What would we uncover? Again, it's just fascinating. So much of our history is totally, totally unknown to us. This Sahara dust storm, they say.
Der Sahara-Staub, gell?
Okay, so it's in German. And what I'll kind of cut to the chase. What does he find in this Saharan dust storm dust? Graphene oxide.
Well, imagine that. I mean, who could have ever seen that coming? The graphene oxide. Very interesting. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, as well as other materials too. But think about it. Can you imagine if this type of stuff was put in play? I mean, I really wonder, again, what I would love to be able to witness what happened to the Sahara. And, was graphene oxide being used 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago? Look at this. I mean, talk about the grand architecture that we just don't do anymore. I mean, spectacular. And this would be a very, very big giant. What, about 60-foot giant if that was trying to replicate, an actual being. Look at this. This is just spectacular. The attention to detail. And the fascinating thing that we keep seeing, some of these things that are still here today, gosh, so much to see. This monument to the Battle of the Nations, it's a monument in Leipzig, Germany, to the 1813 Battle of Leipzig, also known as the Battle of Nations. And he says, liars! Did the older version have a door opening? Black-white image looks like it's concrete encased. Were the monuments actually constructed when we are told? Or are they actually far, far older than what we're told? Oh boy, how about this, right? Protoceratops. I really appreciate Bronze Giant. Protoceratops, right? There is misdirection with dinosaurs. There's misdirection. Could it possibly be that it was a griffin? When you look at the face, I could see that. But then we think, all the dinosaurs were so big. Well, not all of them. Some were much smaller than what you might imagine. There was all different types. And I do think what we've gotten is that a lot of them were literally herds, for the reptilians. Protoceratops. Now, they say 80 million year old deposits of the late Cretaceous period. It was a predecessor of the more familiar horned dinosaurs like Triceratops. Now, how big were they? Pretty large. Adults were about 1.8 meters, or about 6 foot long. Would have weighed about 180 kilos, or 400 pounds. The skull was very long, about 1/5 the total body length. Could it be that maybe what we're looking at is really a griffin's head? Nothing would surprise me. Nothing would surprise me, except for the fact that, again, they say these laid eggs, which the griffins, I think, wouldn't lay eggs.
Well, they're a little in between there. They have wings, and birds have wings, and birds lay eggs, and griffin has a beak there, and beaked creatures lay eggs, but then it's built like a cat, and those kind of give off.
It does have feathers.
It does have feathers.
So I'm really confused.
I know. It's a really curious question, but if griffins were alive today, I would want to.
Yeah. I mean, this is really fascinating stuff. I think that we live on an island of Dr. Moreau. And like, Zergus Zons here says, why do we always see these photos and everything's fabulous, but you have streets that look like they were just swept away from like a mud flood? Literally just happened. Or in some cases, they still seem almost muddy. And you don't have a paved road, but you have buildings like this. Strange. I mean, no cobblestones, it's just dirt, but you have spectacular buildings. Just, there's a lot of things that don't make any sense. And this thing, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense at all.
It's not a cupcake. No, not a cupcake. It's not an ice cream cone with an ice cream plop on top. I really don't know.
This was found 15 years ago in a riverbed northwest Ohio. It's made of some sort of unidentified synthetic material, weighs about 15 to 20 pounds. Appears to be melt marks on one side, score marks on the other. It does float. Its tentacle-looking tubes are non-movable and are solid. Some appear to have broken off. I have no idea what that would be. And what would be that type of thing in a riverbed in Ohio? Is it a life form of some sort? That's strange.
I don't know, but I wouldn't want it like for a pet. I don't think it would make a good pet. It would probably be kind of creepy.
Meanwhile, human DNA components found in a meteorite that's 2 billion years old.
Imagine that.
Yeah, right?
Go figure.
A rock older than life itself. Yeah. Well, they give us like 4 billion years for the Earth's age, but at the same time, I really don't know how long the Earth has been the Earth. But I don't think it's that long, but at the same time, it's taken from Tiamat, which could be definitely that old or older. But yeah, life abounds. There's just life everywhere. How about this? That's a curious little thing.
Yeah, it's like a fairy door.
This stone with its Trilithian engraving is from prehistoric Russia. You've seen similar items in Egypt, Peru, Turkey, UK, Malta. Actually, yeah, if you're talking about Siberia, Siberia holds a lot of mysteries. There's so much there that hasn't even been uncovered, and there's so few people there. So, yeah, what do you picture? Is this some sort of gate? Is it representing a portal?
To me, whenever I see markings like that, they feel very, very significant, like they're putting off a specific frequency. So if you were to go around that area, did it have the ability to cloak? Did it have the ability to move you from one place to the next? I feel it was a magical era, and it could do magical things that we just think are silly now.
Absolutely. And this is in Peru. Again, Peru's just got a ton of amazing megalithic sites. When you look at it, I wonder how old it really is. And look at the stairs. I mean, those are like stairs in stone. And, how did that thing crack? What could blow that up in ancient days, or was it just a big earthquake? But if it was an earthquake, why would it crack like that there? Feels like it might have been perhaps, a directed energy weapon, just saying.
I know. I don't know why this thing, it feels like it's a platform, has something to do with like getting on and off a ship, landing, something weird of that nature, something strange like that.
It wasn't a cannonball from conquistadors that did that damage.
No, I would say not.
Yeah, I don't think so. Again, but the conquistadors did destroy a lot of things, and that was part of what they were doing. Hamadan, this is a 3,000-year-old city in western Iran. Will it be around at all when things are done? I don't know. Look at this, and look at the layout. It's like cutting a pizza pie, right? It's pretty fascinating. It's considered one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. I again think that Iran has a lot of stuff that they want to have destroyed. A lot of artifacts, a lot of, just leftover Anunnaki things that would be very inconvenient to explain if the Western world was to have access to all these things.
Well, you'd have to rewrite a lot of books, and that's a lot of paper, and, that would be like a lot of money lost to someone, a lot of explaining to do if that were the case, too.
Look at this. This is in Denmark. Look at this. I mean, it's just like each yard is ringed in, and
So cool.
Isn't that cool?
It's like privacy fence.
Well,
Green.
this, we have one of our dear family members that has been talking about buying like 120 acres and divvying it up and having people like you guys, like people that want to start to create more of a breakaway society to a degree within our regular society, and then divvying it up into whatever 5 acres each, and do like long-term leases. You could see something like that where you have your own little greenery section, but you're there with neighbors that you love and enjoy, and that will work with you, and maybe even develop a bartering system between everybody.
Right, and there would be a certain level of compatibility because you'd be at a certain frequency, and, everyone would get along. And, astrologically speaking, I also do compatibility on the charts, and I find it to be very, very useful when it comes to any relationship, business relationships, so even friendships. You can do compatibility with everyone. So I think, everyone would have to meet a certain compatibility, because that's a nightmare if you bring people together and then there's some incompatibility. You don't want to find that out later. You want to find that out now. And I also think when it comes to compatibility, like some people think that it's really barbaric to do compatibility and, match people together. But actually, I think that's a really good way of putting people together. It's better to do the compatibility before than it is to do it after and realize, there's a big problem here and you can't work it out. So I wish they would bring back compatibility. I think it should be in like so many different facets of life, including business partners and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we like the idea of at least, having like-minded people close to us. And I think it's great, to come together. So We chose where we're at mostly for affordability and the overall climate, which again, we like it a little bit warmer. And we have a lake literally about 150 feet in front of us. And there's rivers everywhere. And it's just, a great abundant area that's affordable. And we were having peppers and tomatoes until like around December 1st out there in the yard. So that was really cool too. I do have to build a bigger greenhouse. We have a little greenhouse right now. I think it's like 6 by 12. But it's not anything that great, and we have to definitely improve on it. And this is what it looks like in the winter with the snow coming down. Yeah, still pretty. How about these guys? 2 black wolves caught on camera. This is in a Polish forest. Yep, they just looks like puppies to me. Probably... if you raised them from birth, they would be as affectionate as any pup.
Yeah, they might have those darn instincts, though, that might make them eat your chickens or whatever. So you got to kind of watch out for those instincts there, for sure.
Eric says, how many ages of mankind do you think we have gone through? The guides had said that we had gone through 3 complete cycles of the Yuga.
Yes.
This is what Earth in its recreation has done. 3 complete cycles of the Yugas. Let me bring that up here. Because that's the problem, is we don't know exactly what that is like as far as what time is different in each yuga. And so relatively speaking, if we're talking about that, in many people's mind, 1 full cycle of the yugas is roughly about the same time as a precession of the equinoxes. So, around 25,000 years. So if that was the case, then the Earth was reborn from Tiamat about 75,000 years ago. But the thing is, time is different, really, relative to each of the yugas. And that's where it gets really confusing.
So you're looking at time being different in the Silver Age and the Gold Age. And then you also have to consider that there's yugas inside of yugas. And right now we are changing yugas. And the one thing that I like to keep an eye on when we're changing yugas is the balancing of partnerships. Is that the masculine or the feminine? Who is there balance? Is there imbalance? And if there is imbalance, is balance occurring? And I think we do have some balance occurring right now. But I also think we're kind of a yuga inside of a yuga.
Yeah, and then maybe that would explain the Satan's little season thing to a degree. So I don't think this is perfectly right. I mean, this is based on Sri Yukteswar's work. He was the guru teacher of Yogananda, who was one of the first to bring yoga, just one of the first to bring yoga to the West. And here in the U.S., and actually set up a fellowship in Los Angeles area. And a friend of mine, spent tons of time there, Annalita, and she's just amazing. But I wish it was this simple, but I don't think it's this simple. That's the thing. But here you see 24,000 years for a full cycle, 12,000 years ascending, 12,000 years descending. So, we are in the little beginning part of the Bronze Age. The Golden Age lasts longer, and then the silver, not quite as much as the gold. The bronze doesn't last quite as much as the silver, and thankfully, the Kali Yuga is the shortest. But yeah, I don't think it's quite that simple, because the perception of time is very different in them. You could also look at it as wavelength. Again, it's just fascinating to see this. And this is looking at a 25,800 year cycle. Sinusoidal fluctuation of cranial volume. Ooh, there's a lot of fun things to delve into. We are in expanding Dwapara. I do agree with that statement. We're in the ascending cycle. Here's the Sri Yugatswara there. So he thought it was all about the Industrial Revolution. At the beginning of the Industrial Revolution was the beginning of the Bronze Age. But we actually got that the Bronze Age was actually April 8th, 2024. That came from the guides, specifically the galactics. But again, it's our perception of time that changes drastically, because when you look at the king's list, the Sumerian king's list, you have people, ruling for like 20,000 years. I think the longest ruling person was something like 20-something thousand. And it's stated that in a golden age, we could live to be 100,000, silver 10,000, in a bronze age 1,000, and then in the Kali Yuga, the most would be 100, 120 years. So, it's a fascinating thing, a fascinating concept. I don't think we have everything, all the info, though.
No, we don't, because we cannot contain all the info. It's our human brains are limiting us to a very high degree. We can only take in and absorb so much, but as time goes on, it will change. It will be different.
President Trump signs a bill making animal cruelty a federal felony. That is good.
That is wonderful. Not everyone deserves a dog or a cat or a pet. I mean, when I asked for an angel, God gave me a lot of paws, and I needed every single one of them. And I see such horrific things, dumping of animals and just, not getting them fixed and having puppy after puppy and sometimes using them as bait dogs. And it really makes me sick. I mean, it's something that I can get really riled up over. But what are you going to do? If I could take and rescue every single one, I would. But, you don't have the capacity for that. You have the capacity to love the ones that you do have, and you love them to such a high degree. And hopefully that will move out to the rest of the animal dog collection. It's really unfortunate. Yeah, not everyone deserves an animal.
No, you have to have the love for them and treat them like family. I mean, how many hugs and kisses do Rama, Sita, and Sassy get a day?
Well, they get a lot and we get a lot. It's kind of unlimited around here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they're family. There's no other way around it. They're total family, and here is family. Yeah, look at this family.
Look at that. Like, everybody just wants to be happy and be together. Oh my gosh, Israel. Aw. Thank you.
Thank you, dear brother. Hope all is going well, Israel. Again, another beautiful soul that's been with us and so supportive for so long. It is a blessing. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you very, very much. It's been wonderful to have all of you guys here. Are we okay? So we're close to the end. I do want to mention prayers. Please, continued prayers for Steve and Lori. Lori is having a fight of her life, and hopefully she's going to get out of the situation she's in so that maybe she can make a recovery and maybe even come see us where we are at right now. We would love to see her. So prayers for Lori and Steve, and continued prayers for Chris and Diane and his dad Fernando. Please send prayers to them. Everyone else, Ginger Ailbrett's friend, the baby, she's 20 weeks. She has 20 to go. So let's please send energy and prayers out to them. Let's also send positive intent over to any warring nation for anyone who needs it, and our friends right here at home that are going through a storm. I know Karma Doc has little babies that she needs to keep warm, and little baby geese, and I'm sure other animals out there that need to stay warm too, so she needs her power, and anyone else out there. So here we're going to do some dings here. Guys, think a happy thought.
And also, as always, Loka Samasta Sukhi no Bhavantu, which means may all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may my thoughts, words, actions, and deeds contribute to that happiness and their freedom.
Thank you so much, everyone. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste, guys. Thank you.